Hello and welcome to Beyond Games, the YouTube channel all about what's next for gaming. I'm your host John Jordan, and joining me today is Dean Anderson, who is the CEO of PLAYSTATE, which is a brand new platform which is connecting developers and communities and allowing them to do some funky stuff. So thanks for coming on, Dean.
No worries, John. Thanks for having me.
And let's just sort of get straight to it. Can you tell us what PLAYSTATE is all about?
Sure. So PlayState is a new user-generated content platform and social network that will empower the creator economy within the games industry. And I guess our mission within that is what we're looking to do is lower the barrier to entry for creators in the space and allow game studios to embrace the content that their community can create. So for us, it's all about kind of recognizing the creativity and sort of empowering imagination within the space.
So that's sort of the high level, I guess that's the elevator pitch as we kind of call it, I suppose. What does that actually mean when we sort of get down into the nitty gritty of, if I'm a developer who wants to build community, or if I'm in a community or I'm interested in games and want to find out how I can sort of do user-generated content, can you get into a bit more of the weeds of how that actually works and how you try and tie these sort of different audiences together?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, as a studio, what we're noticing is more and more studios are recognizing the benefits of user-generated content, but there are a number of sort of risks associated with it and challenges around it, especially from a community management perspective. So, what we've seen in the industry to date is a lot of the larger AAA publishers and studios have started to adopt user-generated content in quite a large way. You see platforms like Supercell Make, whereby they're now asking their community to help them create character skins. You've got, you've got sort of walled gardens like Roblox, whereby the whole point of the game or the platform is to create content for that game. What we're looking to do with PlayState is allow studios of any size with any amount of resource to collaborate with their community. And when we talk about collaboration, we're talking about allowing studios to listen to their players. So it might be them asking for ideas and asking for their community to vote on design ideas or decisions. Or it might be them taking things a step further and opening up challenges to the community. And challenges might be around low touch sort of creation projects, where it might be things like GIFs and meme and things for social media content. Or it could be short story writing. So in terms of the type of content that could be created or requested by studios, the possibilities are endless. But we also take things a step further. And if a studio does want to request specific assets, like things like 3D models and things that would typically take quite a bit of time in terms of contribution, studios can write requests for proposals. They can put budgets against those proposals and push them out to the community. And that way, any one of their community members can then read the brief, agree a budget, and get involved and actually create content that would be seen in games, which for us is pretty powerful. On the creator side of the platform, what we're seeing is kind of an explosion of user-generated content online. And the big challenge for most creators in the industry right now is being able to monetize that content. So what we want to do at PlayState is create a fair and transparent environment whereby creators can create any type of content that they're interested in around or for any type of game, and ideally be rewarded in a fair and transparent way. And those rewards through PlayState could come in two ways. So if it's if it's low touch stuff that doesn't take much time, things like GIFs and memes and sort of gameplay clips that could be used for social media, we would expect the rewards to be things like game keys or in-game currencies, potentially NFTs, or if it's stuff that requires a higher skill level, then they could participate in the request for proposals like I just mentioned, and they would typically earn cash as rewards.
But it sounds like that's sort of fairly flexible in terms of you're basically providing the platform, and it's sort of for developers to work out how they kind of reward their users, and it's obviously sort of there's very different things to building a 3D model to doing some sort of a Twitter meme or something like that. So do you kind of give guidelines around that, or how does that work?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we do give guidelines, and it's something we're very focused on. We've done a lot of work on working out, what is a fair and transparent way to reward the value that's been created in the industry. The reason PlayerState actually exists is we couple of years ago, we participated in Ubisoft's founders program. So we pitched an idea for a new reward model that would allow Ubisoft to recognize and reward player contributions en masse. And after working through that with Ubisoft's innovation team for 6 months over in Paris, we realized that for that reward model to have any value, it needed to sit within the platform. And that's how PlayerState was born. So the whole player rewarding thing is something that we're very focused on. In all honesty, it's something that's very tricky to get right, and that's why we've left it fairly open. But what we're trying to do is provide a framework and provide a space whereby studios can decide what type of content they want to create, how they want to reward it, but ultimately the risk would lie with the creators. So we want to provide enough transparency so that any creator that's participating in the platform, it's up to them to decide if they want to get involved in a project based on the rewards on offer. So we don't want any kind of gray areas, and we don't want people, the last thing that we want essentially is studios using this as a place to have access to sort of cheap labor. That's the complete opposite to what we're trying to do, basically.
And what state are you in now? What can people do who want to get involved in this sort of thing?
So right now we are in what we're calling early access. The reason we have it in early access is we're essentially stress testing the platform. So we have a number of live projects in the platform. We went live with a game called RoboQuest, which is built by Rise Up Studios. It's an incredibly fun first-person shooter game. They have currently been working with their community and our early adopter community to create social media content. So they've had live challenges on there asking people to create gameplay GIFs, weapon variation GIFs, a bunch of different GIFs and content that could be used for social media essentially. But their community is already earning cash rewards. And we as PlayerState as a platform, we're very interested obviously in practicing what we preach. So in terms of our branding as a business, we've started with a clean slate. And we're now asking our community to help us come up with character concepts and sort of, again, social media content that can be used as a part of our strategy. So at the moment, people can come in and get involved in kind of light touch projects, but there's cash rewards on offer. And over the coming months, we hope to have some much more sort of recognizable IPs that people can come on board and get involved with.
And when you talk to game developers, is this... Because I guess to some degree they're doing this sort of stuff sort of informally, just on an ad hoc basis. So what sort of response are you getting? If they feel like having this sort of kind of network layer around that is really going to accelerate that, or are they sort of a little bit yet to be convinced?
So for me, it's one of two scenarios basically. I think studios right now are becoming very aware of the power of user generated content. Like to give you an example of how powerful that can be for a studio. My business partner, Visa, he owns an agency called Waste Creative, who work with Supercell. They ran a campaign, this is before PlayerState existed, whereby they pitched the idea to Supercell to allow their community to get involved in the creation of an animated video that would be used to promote the launch of Brawl Stars. And so what they did with any type of animated video, it basically starts off as a massive colouring in book. It's just a bunch of individual frames which have black and white line drawings on them. What they did is they pushed those individual frames out to the community and asked the community to colour in those frames. Then that video was stitched together and shared on YouTube. But what happened was, as soon as that video hit YouTube, it generated over 3 million organic views, so without any paid media spend. And the reason for that is all the individual creators that got involved, they would watch the video on YouTube, they would pause the video on the frame that they coloured in, and then they would share it. So it just went viral, basically. So I think when we're talking to studios, if we use specific examples of case studies in terms of how powerful and how much UGC can potentially improve marketing economics and player retention and engagement, studios are very much starting to become more and more interested in it. But then off the back of that, they start to become aware of the risks involved, and that's where a platform like PlayerState can add a lot of value, and it can also save a studio a lot of time as well.
And in terms of if I'm sort of a creative person who isn't attached to a project that's already sort of live on here, is there a sign up process yet? Are you sort of doing wait lists? What's the sort of situation there?
Yeah, so at the moment people are coming on to playerstate.com. They're going onto a wait list, but we're inviting people from the wait list on a weekly basis. So the wait isn't very long at the moment. So, but very soon, like hopefully within the next 6 weeks, we'll be opening it right up to the public.
Good. Excellent. Well, I think that's a good introduction to what you guys are up to. Obviously, we can come back and see what's going on over the next kind of few months as you start to open it up. As you say, I think this is kind of user-generated content now is very much something that is, sort of permeates the games industry. So I think having a platform like this that sort of can sort of codify and put some sort of structure around what is a very sort of messy business will be fascinating to see. And I guess in time, do you think you're just going across more games, or do you think you can sort of become? Because I guess to some degree you could sort of imagine something like PlayState, sort of becoming integrated into the whole development process. So not just people creating 3D art, but people could build games around it or something in some weird way, I guess.
No, exactly. I mean, for us, one of the cool things about user-generated content and sort of building and fostering a community around it is there's a huge kind of education piece that kind of sits within that. And what we're very interested in at the moment, we're focused on kind of lowering the barrier to entry, so that it's not just people that can create, 3D models and sort of and stuff that requires a high skill set. We want people that can come in and they might just have great ideas. They might be able to sketch. They might literally just sketch like an idea on the back of a napkin, but through PlayerState, that idea can be developed further and potentially brought into game. But what we think long term is, as we see more and more collaboration and more projects in the platform, we would like to see creators learning from each other and potentially creators connecting and creating their own content, and potentially off the back of that creating games together within the platform.
Cool, good.
Which would be
We'll
very
hold
cool.
that thought and come back and see how you get on. Thank you very much for your time, Dean.
No worries.
And thanks to everyone for watching the video. Remember, this is Beyond Games, the YouTube channel all about what's happening next for games. There's loads of different technologies sort of coming into games, and we're looking to do our best to sort of give you a education into what's going on. So please subscribe to the channel. But thanks for watching, and see you again soon.